Hi, I'm Laura Bunting, your new wine club coordinator here at DeLoach Vineyards. Madeline has moved back into the tasting room as the assistant tasting room manager and is excited to see you when you all come to visit us here. Today we're tasting 3-year wines for the February 2014 Fleur-de-Lis Red Shipment with our winemaker, Brian Maloney. And here today we are tasting first off our 2010 Marin Pinot Noir. What can you tell us about this?
Thanks, Laura. Well, the Marin Pinot Noir is a wine that comes from 4 different sites throughout Marin County. We have both ridgetop sites as well as valley floor sites in this wine. And I think the combination of the two really gives you a sense of the terroir of Marin, which is a bit cooler than what we see in most of Sonoma County, as well as having the same soil types that we see in Sonoma County. So it's kind of an interesting mix of the two elements, a little bit colder, but still the same basic substance that the vines are growing in. With that said, this wine does have that just vivacity that you don't necessarily see in the Russian River Valley. A little bit higher acidity, a little bit denser tannin structure, but maybe not the plush fruit that you get. So it's, I think, a fascinating thing to have in a collection of Pinot Noirs to taste and be able to compare it with, but on its own, it's absolutely a lovely wine. Aromatically, you get those red and black fruit characteristics, maybe a little bit of strawberry where, you know, the Russian River Valley can tend to be a little bit more of that cola raspberry characteristic. And then on the palate, you just get those tight, fine-grained tannins. Just classic Pinot Noir from a cool climate. Really pleasing wine. One of the ones that we really feel shows the different terroirs that we work with to its utmost. So, enjoy.
Enjoy. All right. The next wine in our club shipment is going to be the 2010 Thornton Vineyards Pinot Noir. How about this one?
Thanks, Laura. Well, the Thornton Vineyard is located on a ridgetop that overlooks all of the Sonoma Valley, all the way down to San Pablo Bay, Mount Diablo, San Francisco. Just an incredible view. If you voted top views in vineyards, this would be one right there at the top that we work with. And, you know, it's interesting. We talk about when we look at vineyards that, you know, the view is very important because that tells us a lot about solar penetration that comes into the vines. It tells us about the slope aspect, you know, how things drain. And all that combination makes this really one of the best sites we work with throughout all of Sonoma County. It's a very limited production wine. It's a special place. There's not a lot of grapes coming off of it. We've been lucky to work with it since its inception back in 2006 on a very small level, and now it's grown a little bit for us, but still only about 150 cases of this, and I would suggest that everyone wants to get as much of this as possible. It's one of my favorite wines in the cellar, and I think it's become one of our club favorites as well. Aromatically, you know, you have that small dark berry characteristic that comes out of this vineyard. They're really, really tiny fruit, and that really carries forward where you get those pomegranate characteristics, I think, really are strong on this wine. And then on the palate, you just have those dense tannins that you work with again. I mean, that's something we look for in Pinot Noir vineyards. So you got a sandstone-based site, you got a cool location, and you're going to have that tannin feel, that just silky, velvety, just, you know, caresses everything and doesn't leave any substance behind. So definitely one that not only is a sipper, but, you know, the bottle ends up empty pretty quick. So cheers.
Cheers. All right, and the next wine in your club shipment is going to be the fabulous 2010 Kamp Vineyards Pinot Noir. What can you tell us about this one?
Well, Kamp Vineyard is one of those touchstone sites in Sonoma County. It's one of the oldest plantings of Pinot Noir still in existence in the county. First planted back in the early 1960s, the Pinot Noir. We still work with some of those old vines today, as well as some newer plantings that Ulysses has put in over the last couple decades. It is one of the most meticulously farmed sites. It's located right about 1,200-foot elevation. The vineyard itself has a huge diversity in soils, and so each individual block we really pay attention to fermenting separately and let it show its full stuff, so to speak. As far as this wine, it is one of those enigmatic Pinot Noirs that often belies description. It can start off with very interesting fruit characteristics, but then these savory elements come out, the pine duff and characteristics that aren't so common in Pinot Noir. I could go on and talk about this wine, obviously. It's one that's really close to my heart and one of my favorites, but I have to say that really you have to get in the glass and taste it yourself if you really want to appreciate the complexity, the depth, and the interest that is Kamp. So enjoy, cheers.
Enjoy.